I'll tell you something that happened. I'm going to record this. It hasn't been recorded yet, I think, in any way. So I'm just going to say it. And I just happen to be walking by the spot, the very spot right this minute, where last summer a hull of a boat washed up. And it was so unusual, people didn't even know that it was a boat. Nobody really knew what it was. The media was all down here trying to figure out what it was. Looked like a spaceship. People were standing around it, talking about it day after day. And then it came to light that it was actually a boat, looking at the fittings and all of that. Well, the day it washed up, I happened to be down here for a picnic with my daughter. In fact, it washed up like within an hour of the time that I got down here. And when I saw it, I knew what it was. I took a picture of it and I sent it back to my husband. And he blew it up on the computer screen and took a look at it. And he called me back and he said, "Is it mine?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't know." And what he meant was a boat that he had bought out of salvage in Ireland in the 1980s. And it was a very fast, one-of-a-kind carbon fiber trimaran that had hit a submerged container and then had been salvaged by the insurance company and sold out of salvage to my husband. And so my husband and some friends worked on that boat in Ireland for about 10 years. And then they sailed it down to the Canary Islands and then over to the east coast of the U.S. and then down around through the Panama Canal and then up to Costa Rica, where it dismasted. And they had it shipped on a barge up to Seattle. And then they worked on it for another 2 or 3 years and got it ready to do the Transpac race from San Diego to Hawaii in 1999. When they were doing some preliminary races, it dismasted again. And one of the crew was injured. So the Coast Guard airlifted the crew off about 300 miles off the coast of San Francisco in July of 1999. The insurance company tried to retrieve it and gave up and called it lost at sea. And they paid us off, and that was the end of it. It was lost at sea. And then here, 11 and a half years later, this very boat washes up at the very place where I happened to be that day. And of course, people, including my own mother, thought, well, there must be many boats like that. But no, there was only one boat like that. And while they were dismantling it, I came into possession of the documentation numbers, which were stamped into the hull in carbon fiber. And most certainly, when I saw those numbers laid out on the table on top of the documentation that we had kept for 15 years of that boat before it was lost. It's hard to describe. The reeling inside my head that if this could happen, what could be impossible? If a boat could find us in a place where we'd never been before, in a place where in all the time that I've lived here in Kailua, over 20 years, nothing like this has ever washed up on the beach. This is a very unlikely place for something to wash up because of the way the cove is and the way that the wind and the rip in the tide, the way it's all formed here. It's very unlikely that something would ever wash up here, and that very boat would follow us home. After that, what could be impossible? And the first thing when I tell people this, the first thing they say is, what could it mean? It's got to mean something. And I would be the first, normally, like Kurt Vonnegut, to say that, oh yes, we read we try to assign meanings, we ascribe meanings to things that just happen by coincidence. But that is not satisfying. It doesn't ring true. That could happen and be meaningless. And God knows I don't know what it means. But what I can't believe is that it's meaningless. I can't believe that.